Hello and good evening. Welcome to Create with Me. I'll just adjust the camera a bit. Nice to see everybody here. So, welcome to Create with Me. This is a gentle grounding space where we slow down, tune in, and make room for meaningful art. So, I created this series because so many of us long to reconnect, not just with our creativity, but with ourselves. We want to make meaningful art, especially in our art journals. So, if you'd like to follow along, don't forget to sign up. And when you sign up, you get the Create with Me guide. You get the prompts, and you get the mark making reflection sheet, which is a great way to improve your mark making with just jotting a few things down and giving it some thought after you do some art. So, welcome to texture. And let's just say hi. And even though you might live far away, I would be very curious as to what time are you in right now? I am Eastern Standard Time. It's 8-ish, just after 8 o'clock. So just mention that in the comments, just to see all of the different times, and maybe next time when I'm doing this again in the new year, we'll definitely change the time. Oh, that's great. Multitasking is fine, Sue. Or Susan. Okay, so we had the draw. I had to go to the second person, and congratulations again to that winner. I'm not sure if you guys want me to mention your name when there's a draw, because it's a video and it'll be, forever on YouTube. So that's why I'm not quite sure about that. And coastal time, yes. So that's three hours earlier, which is great. It's just that it's, in Britain and England, and I don't know, I have quite a few followers from there, and it's a little later. Okay, so the giveaway for the next draw is this notebook, but it's going to have a hand-painted cover and back. I want to do both. So what I'm doing is thinking of a good way. I've done a few of these. I'll probably do it like a spread. What I do is I use a sleeve. Since this is wide, this is quite a large one. The measurements are 7 inches by 10.5 inches. So when you do a spread, which is 2 pages, you have quite a bit of room. And it's a lot, it's even wider than 1 page of the, what size is this one? Of the 9 by 12. But the one thing is the paper isn't as thick. So, but that's okay. It'll fill up and get wider. But this isn't too bad for mixed media. It just can't go really, really heavy with your materials. So this is a really nice sturdy one. I buy them by the packs on Amazon. They're wonderful. It's a wonderful cardboard cover, but it'll be really strong because it'll be covered with paint, collage, very similar to my art journaling pages. Who knows what will happen for this? So you need to sign up. When you do, you get all the other goodies. You get to know what's coming, and you're part of a community. And welcome if you're new here. Tonight is about texture. And I've been experimenting with texture, but I went back to the good old easy, squeezable, put a little bit on the grid. I decided to use the grid because we can see everything side by side. There's really nothing much to see here yet until I add the wash or glaze. So you can use water as your base for the glaze or a fluid medium. Okay. Yes, Pacific Standard Time. I'm just taking a little breather, making sure whoever's here is here. Okay. I also wanted to just give you a glimpse as to some other work that I do. These are multiples, and I use a very large watercolor sheet where I can get anywhere up to 16 on one sheet, but taped off very carefully. It's very picky, and but it's doable. And I've learned that using the special non-stick painting tape is better than the white, even though I don't like the color. But these edges are really nice and not damaged. And I just wanted to show you here, right here, is just a very thin coat of gesso. So when I started using gesso, but when you get really thick, it's a little trickier to put your transparent collage layers on the top. So I don't do the whole page that way, just areas. So what you're doing another thing you're doing with texture and using gesso is playing with opacity, because it would really cover up the layer below and then putting on transparent layers over top or more marks. So that's one. This one, if you can see, I'm just sort of making the light go on it. There's a texture there. And I usually score or do a semic writing through my gesso. Here I've used a stencil, if you can see with the light. It's the whiter area, and I really like that. Playing with pure white and natural, where it's very subtle, and that makes your work able to breathe. You're still adding details and layers, but you're not changing the composition. So the composition of this piece is just 1, 2, 3. It's all horizontal, and that's a really nice way to start. But on to tonight's texture. Let's discuss what we know about texture so far. Put a thumbs up if you are already using gesso or some kind of physical texture where you can feel it on your page with some kind of medium. Give me a thumbs up. All right. Waiting for some thumbs up. Okay. Thank you, Lexus and SWL. Okay. So I made these yesterday, and I'm just going to add a glaze on top. I'm going to use some different colors. I chose these paints because they're more transparent, but with a little help from some mediums, I didn't shake it. You can make any kind of paint more transparent. Most of them. Oh, this one, it's coming. It's being a little stubborn. That's okay, we only need a little bit. So I'm going to use water and just acrylic for the first one. And this one's probably very subtle because it was sort of netting that you get your vegetables from. But what I'm going to do to accentuate it, I'm going to scrape over the top with the color shaper, which then forces the paint in the openings, and you get a very subtle texture, which is pretty cool. And of course, when you glide the color shaper across, I always love the surprise marks that you can get. If you're working on, say, a wooden panel or even canvas, I like to use either sandpaper, a very fine sandpaper, to sort of lighten up the fibers that are closest at the top of the surface, and then it exaggerates the texture. Or I use isopropyl alcohol and I spray a little bit on there, and it helps bead or change. So I'm wiping away, but the cloth won't touch the paint that's lying inside the marks. All right. So if you're interested, don't forget to, if you're responding, cooperating, paying attention to what's going on, and leaving a comment. But the chat is great between all of you, but it has to be a response, a like, and a comment. Okay, just a reminder. Okay, so let's try some of these water-soluble pastels over here. Let's do an orange. Oh, so that's interesting. It's very light. So I'm going to use a little paint. I think we'll use some of this. Much better. And I'll show you on a painting when I'll apply a layer. I have the gesso layer all ready to go. So when you spray the isopropyl alcohol, it creates a bead. So I'll leave that. And when you rub it, when you glide across, there's your texture. Oops. So it has an old and sort of feeling to it. And then if you came in with another color, so imagine this is on a whole section of your painting, or maybe the first layer. Maybe you want a subtle texture on the whole thing and then come in. So that's just water. And I'm just playing around with pulling. There we go. You can also score right into it. And get some really nice marks. Okay, let's do the next 4. Let's see. So I'm going to wet it first. And when you put gesso on your paper, of course, it changes the whole thing around. It doesn't absorb like paper anymore. So you have to consider that. It depends what you want to use as your substrate. So that looks like it didn't do anything, right? But just wait. The harder you press, the more you remove. If you just want to go lightly and just touch the surface. So I'll come back in with some water. And it just loosens up what's on the surface a bit. Really like that. So that's a very interesting texture. So what I'm using is just a simple Liquitex basic gesso. It's not super thick, but it's great for journaling. And this is the stencil that I used. So I put the stencil down. Even I put the gesso first, stencil down, press on it, and really make sure it's in there and lift and just let it dry. And this is the result. I think I have some more over here. I think I will do, I'm really liking how this blue is turning out. So let's do that. All right. So what do you think, everybody? Actually, I'm going to change up. These are my favorite color combinations, so I'm going to use a little yellow oxide. I go through a lot of that. Can everybody see okay? Oh, this is really cool. And for demonstration purposes, I'm not mixing, but I think a little mixing would be better. So let's just see. Oh, wow, that's really nice. Okay, so let's see what we have. Wow, that really took that away, didn't it? Oh, look. I knew this was the number 1. I love using numbers. They have a lot of meaning. Numerologically speaking, that is. See how that gives it that really interesting, older texture. Okay. So you can reveal it more or hide it and just let a little bit of it show. Whoops. Okay. Yes. Susan, thank you for your comment. Really think subtle textures can add so much depth, nuance, and interest to your work, no matter what style you're creating or using. Okay, the next one is just some marks. Oh, let's see, what color should I use next? I think the blue again. I really love that. Maybe we'll come in with another color. This one is a bit more. I mean, I just used the awl. I'll show you. But of course, you can use a knitting needle. I just love the feel of this wooden handle. And of course, I lost the top of it. I have it here somewhere. And any roundish but pointy object would work. Now, if you're working on a canvas or wooden panel, you can add thicker layers of gesso, of course, to get even a more depth in your marks. So say I wanted to add just a little bit of this sienna, just to warm up that blue a bit, and look. Cool. See if I was to rub that a bit. There. Okay. So just some marks. So you might want to echo some marks that, say if I was doing these types of marks in my gesso, like here, I would echo the same. So it's repetition, but you're changing the material, and it makes it very interesting. Okay, I think we'll go dark. Just like that. It's sort of magical, is it not? Okay, so we've got some subtle numbers here, which you could go in. And since it's gesso, it's pretty strong, so you can sand, you can do all sorts of stuff. It can handle it very well. That was just a simple school stencil. So on larger work, of course, I would use a mixture of large shapes, small shapes, or no stencils at all, just my own marks. Yes. Oh, this technique would be amazing in abstract landscapes. It would really add the depth, and it wouldn't need to be representational or realistic. You could put the feeling of that land, like say wind or water, just the feeling in your marks, in the gesso, and then use real colors or not. Okay, so that's that. This is a piece. This is what I've been doing this week. If you checked out Sunday's video, going bigger, but there's one thing that a lot of mixed media artists and channels don't talk about a lot, and it's the transition, which I call the bridge. And bridging from my small 10-minute to bigger to then twice the size before you go to, say, a 24-inch by 24-inch canvas. But if you're sticking to smaller canvases, like the 12 by 12s that I love to work on, that is a good transition too. So you're getting used to the surfaces before going a little bigger. So the bridge is important. Check that video out. It's in the Sunday, let's see, what one is that? I'll leave a link below this video and you can check that out. So let's see. I don't want to go bold. I want to stay to the color palette on this piece. So I'll use a combination. These are water soluble, so let's see what this does. It might just be subtle. And then that's a little strong. So let's see what the wet paintbrush can do. Okay. Now I'm going to use my color shaper. So it brings it out, but it's still very subtle. So let's soak this up a bit. Oh, totally fine. See, when you have a medium or a gloss on the top, even on your art journaling pages, it's great because then if you don't like something, you can wipe it off. See, I wanted pure white in there. I want it to gradually get warm from this way. But you see how subtle and then my dots? I want them to be more white. You just use your damp cloth. Paper won't allow you to do that, but the gesso does. Okay, I'm going to go back up on the top with some of this, just over here. That's better. I don't know if I like it in the painting, but you can see the texture better. There we go. And let's see. Okay, so I'll just let that dry. So then if it's too much rust or the color, burnt sienna, you'd let that dry, come in with another layer of maybe you want to go back to that color. Put it on, but don't cover it entirely. Leave little pieces peeking through, and that's how you build this nuance of layers. Okay. So, I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's texture. I'm quite liking this piece. I didn't like it at first, and because that wasn't the reason. It was just totally experimental, But these are stencils. This is just asemic writing, paint, all sorts of tools I use for this one. Oh, thank you for that question, Joanne, I take it. I was going to bring that in as well. Modeling paste, let me grab it. Okay. So we have modeling paste. So I'll just open it up if I can. It's been sitting and waiting for me. It's okay because I was going to start to use it this week. It is extremely thick. I don't know if you can see. I'll just use, I'll use this. So that is so thick. Modeling paste would be totally opaque. Maybe I'll just put a little bit on the corner here. It is so thick. And it dries, so you would get way more depth in your marks. But a real good use for modeling paste is through the stencils. So let's see, if I was to do, let's do this. Thank you for mentioning that. Now we're doing modeling paste. You would go, and you wouldn't even need that much. And there you go. Look how thick that is. So if you want to stencil some texture, I don't know about numbers at all. I might just leave that there. It's just an experiment. Super, super thick. The best way to keep your modeling paste, by the way, once it's opened, and I'll do that not on camera, is to put a piece of saran wrap or whatever over the top before you put your lid on, and it keeps it dry a lot longer. Okay. The other material is just good old, this is for drywall. And it's amazing too. You can mix some paint in with it and use it the same way through your stencils, especially if you want to use dots or say if you wanted to use a water texture, anything. But my advice, this is only my advice, is don't overuse it. It can be, it would turn into, say, a trick, you would say. And you just want to use it sparingly to accentuate your texture. And the same goes for, unless you're making really textured work, and I think that's the direction I'm going. But isn't that amazing? So that'll dry solid. And if the edges are too much, you can sand it down, even if it's on paper. This thick watercolor paper can handle that. Good question. Hello, Bruce. Oh, yes. Very good advice, SWL. pushing that saran wrap down on the top. I guess you could scrape it off every time, put a fresh piece down. I'll find out how that works, but I'm definitely going to put that on top. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight. Thank you all for coming. I hope this fun with texture, and then, which led to the modeling paste, there's also heavy gel. Sorry, before we go. Not gloss, but it doesn't matter. You can also use heavy gel through stencils in that way as well. It just, each medium has different lengths of drying time. So I hope you have an amazing creative week. Keep going with everything that you're doing. Try some texture. Going to the hardware store instead of an art store. And I don't know if you follow BB. No, not BB. Oh, anyway, she's from the California coast artist. She makes these beautiful, huge, colorful abstracts, and she uses Ben's paint a lot, house paint in her work. And that can really help, especially if you're using beautiful whites and neutrals and all of that. But for now, we're just going to use what we have, be thankful, and I'll see you next week. So I just wanted to mention, sorry about that, we're going until the 16th. So the 16th will just be a fun night and a draw. So we'll have one more creative night. I'm just coming up with a few ideas, and we'll draw for the notebook. This notebook, which will probably have some texture with modeling paste and gesso on it, and who knows what will turn out. I can't wait to do it. So if you're signed up, please hit the like button, subscribe, so my channel can grow. And again, I will see you next week. Happy creating.